like for context for everybody who's listening to this. I think about this equation a lot, and I actually had some video of somebody shitting on me for this, but I'm going to say it anyways because there's the
Don't
20% that are going
dilute
to say it.
yourself.
That's right. I'm not going to dilute myself. So I saw a salesman say this at a conference, and he wrote $1 million on a whiteboard, and he called up a lady in the audience, and he said, "How much do you make?" And she said, $50,000 a year. And so he wrote $50,000 underneath the million, and he subtracted it, and it said $950,000. He said it costs you $950,000 every single year. You don't know how to make $1 million a year. And so the question is, what is the value of that skill? And the answer is the difference. And so the troll who responded to this originally was like, well, you can keep going. What about $100 million a year or $1 billion a year? And I was like, yes. Yes. If you had the skill of making $1 billion a year, then the difference between 50,000 and a billion is the delta of the value of that skill. And it's really not one skill. It's many skills that ladder up to, when combined together, to create that kind of value. But I remember that being like seared into my memory, which is like, whatever I want to have, the delta between where I'm at and where that thing is what basically what I'm willing to sacrifice in order to learn what I need to learn to get there. And I think that if people appraised that delta, not by the money in their wallet or the time that they currently have, but how much they would be making or how much time they would have and how much that's worth to them, then I think far more people would be willing to invest in their education. And it's such a taboo word because people hate the word education. It's like, oh, it's like work. But like, you want to be an entrepreneur, like you got to learn. There's so much stuff to learn.
Parrots versus practitioners. This is an idea that I've thought about a lot over
Okay.
the years, because I look at someone like you and I
Yeah.
can tell based on everything you say today that you are a practitioner. Um, in this analogy, what I call a parrot is someone who hears what Alex said
Oh,
and then starts saying it. But your lessons and wisdom have come from going through that shit and being able to distill the essence like Richard Feynman and then share
yeah.
it. There is a group of people that just spend their whole life reading books,
Yeah.
posting about it, etc. They never take the jump. Parrots versus practitioners is the best way to learn being a practitioner.
This is widely known in the education space, but not as much in the content world. But there are two types of education. There is procedural and there is declarative. So declarative knowledge is knowing about something. Procedural knowledge is knowing how to do something. So a simple example would be, okay, I understand how private equity works, right? Like that you could talk about it. You can explain how, okay, they take some debt and then they have this arbitrage and they get this enterprise value multiple, whatever. But you've never done a deal. And until you've done a deal, you will not have procedural knowledge of knowing how to actually do a deal. And so you can read 100 books on sales, but you will learn more about actually selling from your first 100 sales calls.
And business is the same.
Yes. And so the idea, in my opinion, for most people is that if you want to rapidly learn, you want to rapidly do those 100 repetitions as fast as you can so that you can suck 100 times in a row and find the 10 that sucked the least and then say, how do I suck least on the next 100? And you keep doing that so many times until eventually you suck so little that you're actually good.
Hard work.
Yes. And I think, this is actually really interesting because it ladders up to, because there's two types of creators. You've got entertainers and then you have educators. At least that's how I separate it. The point of entertainment is to maintain the attention of the audience. That is it. So the point of an entertainer is to literally just keep people watching. The point of an educator is to change someone's behavior. And so if you want content to do well in either of these buckets, fundamentally, at least in the education space, you're selling time. So education is, I spent all this time doing this thing to learn these 4 things that I can give to you so that you don't have to spend this time learning it. And so education is actually, if said differently, what you do is you buy time. So when you buy, it's the only way to actually buy time today. So if you want to basically time warp into your future, you have to buy education so that you can buy all of the life experiences from all these people and then not pay for it in your life. You pay for it with less time by consuming what they have, or some money, or some combination of those things. And fundamentally, we usually pay with the currency that we value least. And so, interestingly, a rich person values their time more than their money, and so they're willing to pay with money to get time back. A poor person will also pay for their time and drive around to 10 different gas stations to find the one thing that's 10 cents cheaper, or drive to 10 different grocery stores to use whatever coupons. They're valuing their time over their money in that instance. And so back to the educator, if you want to be certain or have confidence in any endeavor, you have to do so much volume of activity that it would be unreasonable that you would suck. And if you were to write out the equation of like, okay, how many public speeches would I need to give for it to be unreasonable that I would suck? Is it 10? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? Write the number that you're like, there's no way that I would suck after this many. And then all of your effort gets really narrowed, commitment, elimination of alternatives, focus, turn down quality and quantity of other things, to just doing that. And the key part of this is not just to do the 1,000, but after every 10 or every 20, looking at the top 10 or 20% and saying, what did I do well there? And because you have to have the feedback loop. Otherwise, it's not just doing 100 reach outs. You have to do 100 reach outs and then look at what worked and then do more of what worked. And so for the parent versus the practitioner component of this, even if you're starting out, you can have confidence in what you're doing because you derived the solution. And you can actually answer why you do something. So if you cannot explain why you believe what you believe, it's not your belief, it's someone else's. And so most people, I would say, parrot the vast majority of the things that they say because, and to be fair, that's how humans learn. You're 5 years old, you say, what's that? They say bull, and you say bull, you parrot it back, and there we go, right? But when it comes to skills, you can describe what other people have said before, but if something goes wrong, or what about this condition, you won't know what to do. But if you derived it from the ground up, and there's a great portion of this in the Y Combinator community that you, or the Silicon Valley community that you probably heard, is maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. It was like founder mode. Did that get to the UK? Okay.
Yeah. It was from Brian Chesky. I actually
Yes.
messaged him about it after.
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
like it was awesome, right? And so basically the tenet is that the founder always has special powers in the company because you know what built it. And so that is basically at its core the practitioner versus parrot. The people who came later are parroting why you do what you do, but you know what conditions you were in when you made this rule, and also you know how to break it and when to bend those rules. And so if you build something when you built it from those repetitions to distill out the few truths that exist, you'll know why those are the truths. Like I'll give you a really simple example. So if we've tried to learn YouTube and we've gotten better over time. But in the beginning, I did this massive review and I figured out that the videos that we had that had 3 things at the beginning, proof, promise, plan, was the videos that did the best. And so then all of a sudden we said, okay, all videos have to have proof, promise, plan right at the beginning, the first 30 seconds. Great. So we started doing that for a while. And then we looked at the outliers among those and we were like, oh, well, we also, in some of the ones that did really well, also had some sort of visual picture of this plan. All right, so it became proof, promise, plan, picture. Then we kept looking and we found out over more repetitions that if we also include some sort of pain or problem that's being solved, that also helps. So proof, promise, plan, picture, pain. And so you're like, wait, if you keep adding to this thing, it's going to get really long. No, sometimes you can check multiple boxes with one thing. And this becomes the elegance of creation. Like, how can I check off 3 of these boxes with one sentence, right? And so that is, by the way, if you're like thinking about this, you're like, do they really think about this when they're making videos? Yes, and that is the difference between a 10,000 view video and a 1,000,000 view video. And it's understanding that level of nuance across the entire thing that creates expertise. And also, when you're like, oh, this video flopped, when you're a beginner, you're like, these videos in general don't work or content doesn't work, rather than saying, this video didn't work, and here's why, because we did 3 of the 5. And so it's just like all of the devil is in the details, and you meet the devil himself by doing the unreasonable amount of work. And then it goes from uninformed lack of knowledge to informed optimism, because first you're like, I can make videos and get rich. Then you realize that it's really hard to make videos that people watch. And then finally you start to develop a framework of this is how I make videos that people watch. And when they don't watch it, it's because I didn't follow it.
It's so timely because it weaves into something you said earlier, because my girlfriend came to the recording yesterday, and as I went into the green room and I sat down, she went, babe, look, I found this new app. And I said, what is it? She goes, it's an app that summarizes books.
Yeah.
And it's called like Head something.
Yeah.
And she showed me it. And I go, look at my book.
Yeah.
Because I know the laws, I know the chapters, I know all of the principles that lead up to the point. So show me my book. And law 2, my book's called 33 Laws. So it's these 33 laws.
I got it, yeah.
And law 2 was about the Richard Fryman technique you talked about. And I explained why that process of learning something, simplifying it to its essence for a 10-year-old, teaching it to someone else. If they understand it, move on. If they don't, go back to the top and learn again. And it summarized law 2 of my book to like, writing is the best way to learn.
Yeah.
And I said, babe, if if you just read that summary, the top of the pyramid,
Yeah.
and you don't have the story and all these agreeable foundations, which I then explained to her, would you be able to then translate that and truly understand the nature of the problem so that you could apply it to lots of different settings and so on? And then I told her what that second law in my book actually meant, and she deleted the app.
Yeah.
Because there's no point knowing the conclusion.
The aphorism.
Yeah, the punchline
Yeah.
when you don't know the story. And without the story, you can't, I guess, get to the first principles of the thing.
So this is really interesting because with that Feynman example, it proves that the distillation of knowledge is not bidirectional. So Richard Feynman, can break it down to a child, but a child cannot then re-derive what Feynman has done.
Interesting, yeah.
And so it's convenient for the transmission of communication and for teaching someone who's, let's say, coming new to an organization. Here are the things, and these give you the decision-making frameworks around which, and it can give you directional guidance. But that is the whole founder mode. That is basically a different way of getting to the founder mode idea. That person derived this thing.
Yeah.
And so when a problem arises, we can rederive the next solution rather than trying to apply the aphorism to a new setting.
Another point for founders who are getting their work copied.
Yeah, oh God.
Because everything you've just said actually should give a founder who's having their work copied, their t-shirt designs, their content copied, huge amount of peace. Because if I need to know steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up the staircase to success to be able to predict step 6, then if someone's just copying your step 5, you should be at total peace because they don't know the foundations that would lead to the next step. And that's what we see as podcasters. Podcasters copy you, they'll copy your thumbnail, your title, your whatever.
Dude, I mean, I'm sure you see it everywhere.
Yeah. But the piece that I have is, honestly, I say to the team all the time, if that's the thing that makes us special, we're fucked anyway.
Yeah.
Like if it's the thumbnail or the this or the how we do this, if it's the trailer that made us special, we're fucked anyway.
Yeah.
But also, there's a set of principles, we call it the iceberg. The 99% of what we do, you can't see.
Yeah.
It's the culture, as you said.
It's like, so I have so much on this. So one is, right when I sat down, you were telling me about the episode that we ran that was like akin to a Shark Tank, but new version that we had on our channel. And as you saw me like kind of like groan and be like, it was 56 minutes on video, but it was so much work to produce that one thing, but no one sees all the work behind it. That's the 99%. So that's thing one. The next thing is, think about if you're a founder who's plagued with competition and being upset about it, I was one too, and I want to tell you how I got over it. So number one is think about the alternative, which is that no one copies you because no one cares about what you're doing. Well, then it would be a requisite for success that people copy you. So as long as you are successful, this is just a part of business. The second piece is, by definition, if someone copies you, they are second, period. And so if you want to lead, you can't look at anyone else. You have to consistently be deriving the next step, the step 6 that's unseen, from your first 5 steps to innovate, rather than I'm just going to parrot the next thing. And as soon as you find yourself copying, you have admitted defeat. You've admitted that you are no longer the leader and that you are just following in someone else's footsteps, and you're giving them the baton and saying, you be the champion, I'm happy with 2nd, 3rd, 5th place. And in a winner-take-all world like attention is, all the fruits go to the first place anyways.
Amen. Amen. I have nothing more to add. That's perfect. The last thing I want to talk to you about is, it's really like a 3-part thing. It's hard work, love, and happiness.
Okay.
And I put them together intentionally. One could say work-life balance, love, happiness. I think these things are kind of fundamentally intertwined. But how do you think about it? You're someone that's known as being very obsessive, very into your work, to say the least. You have a wonderful partner who seems to be aligned. I know.
Oh, super.
Okay, good.
She's hardcore.
So let's go through it. Work-life balance / hard work, love, and happiness.
Okay.
If we start with work-life balance, is that a shit question?
Beliefs on it?
Yeah.
So I will answer with how I derived my kind of life thesis, which was after we had taken about $40 million in distributions from Gym Launch personally throughout the years that we ran the company. And then in the year of the sale, for those of you who've never sold a company before, you typically don't want to change a lot of things. You kind of want the company to just be stable, keep working, everything's fine. And so it's one of the most harrowing experiences to go through because you can't really change anything. And if you're the founder, you're always trying to innovate. So you can't do what you're normally doing. And you also can't start the next. So you can't change current and you can't start new. Because if the deal doesn't go through, then you don't want to start two businesses. Remember, because we're, cardinal rule number one, we're not chasing women in the red dress. And so you basically have to sit idly by and just like let things operate. And so in that year, it was one of the most miserable years of my life because I basically had nothing to do. And when I looked back on my life, this sounds like, I looked back on my life as though it's been so long. I looked at the days that I enjoyed the most. And on those days, I had worked out and I had produced something and I had done both of those with people I liked. And almost all of those days, I'd worked many, many hours. And when I realized that the idea of working hard so that I can insert blank, the so that actually makes it still destination driven. So that was when I derived what I called hard work is the goal. It's just to work hard. That is my goal.
And then die?
Mm-hmm. On things worth doing. And those are the days that I love. And I get a tremendous amount of pushback for saying this. And it bothers a lot of people. And to them I say, live your life whatever way you want. This is, again, my life is not a sermon. It's a documentary. This is just how I do it. You can do whatever you want. And for the people who are dissatisfied, try it. And if not, no worries. I really enjoy working. Like the best days are like when I write those books, it's the happiest I am. And it's not happy in the moment because it's really hard. But the amount of challenge is about proportional to my level of skill. And every book I think is better than the last. And the third book that's coming out is going to be fucking awesome. I'm very excited about it. But there's nothing that I enjoy more. But in the moment, I'm like, how do I break this down? And I'm just rubbing my forehead and I'm like, and then I create 2-3 different frameworks. I'm like, nope, that doesn't work here and that doesn't work here, which means some kid in Afghanistan is going to get stuck on this step because it doesn't work. I have to figure out how to get it so that it works everywhere. And I keep deriving it. But the moment it's like, it clicks, I'm like, that's it, fight me. Like that's the framework. That is what I strive for. And for me, the love, the happiness, and work have all, because of the nature of my life, been one. Now, some people have lived their lives where their love life and their happiness and their work are all separate. For me, it has just been life. And I like it that way. And for the people who are upset by that, I'm not upset about how you live your life. I just choose to live it this way. And if in the future I change my mind, I'll change my life. If I get to a point where I'm like, this is no longer a priority for me, something else is, then I will. But when I look at the centenarians and I look at the people who, like I look at Warren Buffett as somebody and Charlie Munger as two of my heroes. Charlie worked until the day he died. And to be clear, I don't work on a 7-day calendar. I don't work a certain hour. I work as much as I can until I feel like my rate of output drops precipitously because of fatigue, and then I sleep. And then if I feel like on a longer time horizon of like I've worked 9 days, I've worked 20 days, I've worked 30 days in a row, and I'm like, all right, I feel like I don't have any gas today, then I'll take the whole day off. And whether that's a Tuesday or a Sunday or a Saturday, I take the day off, and that just is what it is. And I have learned to work that way, and I am okay with it.
The goal clearly for you then is the hard work itself and not a certain place you're trying to get to necessarily.
Because that always moves.
Yeah.
And so Jesse Itzler has this, and maybe I'll be able to steal it from him someday. But I saw him show a picture of his kid finishing a race and putting a 0 up. And what that signified was nothing left in the tank, that he'd spent everything he had on the field. And it's like I have this visual of the 300 movie where the queen says to the king as he goes off to battle, she says, come back with your shield or on it. And I kind of see like my work that way. Like I can't imagine a better way to go out than like doing the thing I love. And it bothers a lot of people that I love something different than they love. And it's like, it bothers me that it bothers them, to be honest. Because I make no projections. Like do whatever you want. And I feel like if I ever had one thing that people took from me, it was like absolute freedom. And because of that absolute freedom, we are 100% responsible for our own lives. And so where we place the finger of blame is also where power flows. So if you blame your parents for your life, your parents have power over your life. If you blame your boss for your bad life, your boss has power over your life. If you blame you for your bad life, at least you can change you and you can do something about it. And so I think absolute responsibility has been my core tenet. And if you have a life where you're like, I don't want to care about work that much and I just want to spend all my time with my family, I'm like, congratulations, you fucking won. That's amazing. Just don't assume that everyone's you. And that what winning for me is the same as winning for you. And I think the times that I talk about this, I know that my message won't resonate with everyone, and that's okay. But it's for the few people who were like me and felt like everyone told them there was something wrong with them. And I still get people to tell me there's something wrong with me. And if wrong means not normal, then yeah, you bet. But it's more so that like you are different and that's okay. And I think that if you're okay with that, then it unleashes this whole new realm of possibility of being able to do what you want. And kind of like I had you do 100 of these and you look at the top 10%, do 100 of these, look at the top 10%. That was my way of trying to operationalize happiness because it was this ephemeral thing that when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, I struggled a ton with. I was very depressed. I looked at, religion. I looked at a lot of different things, and this is common for people at that age. And I came up with a mantra for me at that time, which was fuck happiness. Now, people will then hear this, and I'm sure this will get taken out of context, but that was basically like this release moment for me, where by continually chasing happiness, it always existed outside of me. And so it was always this carrot that was in front of me that I could never really get to. And so by saying fuck happiness, I was like, it's unattainable. I'm just going to work. And I'm just going to do the stuff I want to do. And when I started doing the stuff that I wanted to do, I looked up years later and I was like, I actually kind of like my life. And I was like, is this what happiness is? And I was like, I don't know. But I think one of the major plights of humanity, myself included, is the expectation that life should be different than it is. And so we create this idea that whatever we have right now is not what it should be. And I think should is the root of all pain, is that all the things that we think should happen but aren't is basically the measurement of our pain. And so I've tried to eradicate should from my life. Should for other people, she should do this, they should do that. And just lean into is. It just is this way. I work, period. Not I should work more, I should work less, or I should work differently, or I should see my mom more, I should call my dad more. I do this. And if something changes, I will change. And so unconditional shoulds. Now, if there is a condition of like, if you want to make more money, then this is a higher likelihood. You might want to consider doing this. Those are things that I don't consider in that category. But just the generalized shoulds of he shouldn't do that. He should build a family. He should have kids. He should have gotten married earlier. He should have gotten later. He should have married someone different. He shouldn't have the life that he has. He shouldn't work this way. According to what? And so for me, that is my theory on life, on happiness, work, and love has been very unified because I love my work so much that I got out of a relationship. And when I started dating Layla, I said, I am not willing to change this. And so you have to be willing to deal with me working this way or this won't work because my relationship with my work is the most satisfying relationship I have. Now people will hear that and be like, well, that's because he's never experienced true love or whatever narrative they'll say. But it's like, you haven't lived my life and I haven't lived yours and I don't project anything onto you. But I love what I do. And I get attacked for liking what I do so much. And I like working a lot. And it's because they have negative associations with the word. And that's their own history of their experience with the word. But I see my goals and my relationship with my goals as one of the most sacred things that I have because I see them as a relationship with myself. And so those proxy when someone comes in and says, hey, sweetie, you've been working too much. According to what? Why should I stop? Right? Now let's do this other thing. And people will probably see this as they'll put whatever labels they want on it. But like I just said, this is what I would like to do with my life. And if you can incorporate yourself into that, that would be amazing. And so my second date with Layla, after we talked about business for 4 hours on our first date was I said, I'm going to be working all day. It'd be cool if you worked with me. And she just worked next to me. She had her own thing, but she just worked beside me. And I was like, this is nice. And over time, eventually was like, hey, maybe you want to work on my thing with me. And she was like, yeah, that sounds good. It was a little bit more than that. But like fundamentally, I got her to switch to working on it with me. And at that point, what we got to talk about was what we were creating together. And to me, that's been, the journey of my life. And it's been amazing. And I'm not saying it works for everyone. I'm saying it probably doesn't work for most people. But it has worked really well for me. And it would make sense for me that my path would be different than most people's because I don't behave like most people. And so I would have to have a different formula for how I derive, meaning or joy from my own life. And since I don't believe in inherent meaning, just the meaning that we choose to ascribe to things, then it's up to me to create that meaning within the work that I do. And so the reason acquisition.com was all based on, and it was during that year where I just basically had nothing to do, where I was like, what do I want to do with my life? Because I don't need to work anymore. And that was, we'd taken 40 out before the sale, and then we obviously got the sale. So like, I don't need to work. I like to work. And I try to spend, I look at, I had this boss that told me this and was one of the catalysts for looking at life this way. She said, I had just had like a good weekend or something, and I came in like chipper. And she said, well, you must have had a good weekend. And I was like, yeah, it was good. And she said this, it was like an offhanded comment. And she said, I'm pretty sure the key to happiness is living as many days in a row like that as you can. And it was actually like really operational. Like I was like, I can use this. Like, what are the good days? How do I live as many of those days in a row as I can? And so I've been attacked for like saying that I don't really enjoy going on vacation very much. And it's because like I just want to get back to doing the thing that I really enjoy doing. And I remember Layla and I went to Mexico this year for a week, and it's always during the week of Christmas because no one works and it drives me nuts. And I've just given up trying to get get everyone to work, because even if my team will work, because my team will, because they're crazy too, other teams won't and vendors won't. And it's just anyway. And so while we were there, all I came out with was like, this is for other people and not me, and that's okay.
Earlier on when we were talking about...
Sorry, that was a long rant.
No, it's beautiful because so a couple of takeaways from it, but earlier on we were talking about being a great content creator is a byproduct of having the courage to be yourself. And from that, everything you just said.
My soliloquy.
Yeah, I also gleaned something similar, which is being happy requires the same thing, which is the courage to be yourself. And in the previous analogy, you said everybody is unique.
Yeah.
And that is their value as it relates to showing up in marketing or with whatever product they have. But also, when I think about Alex's story, your story, and all you went through with your father and the early experiences in that consultancy firm, the gym, the fur place you worked, logically, from first principles, the thing that's going to make you happy, because you are completely unique, is going to be completely different from everybody else.
Right.
Like, to varying degrees, depending on how you sort of defining your early experiences are. But I actually think we talked about the courage of being yourself. There's also the courage of being happy. And with the courage of being happy, you have to withstand public pressure, the shoulds you said from your parents, whatever, from social media, especially as you become a bigger creator, to actually just listen to how you feel every day.
Can I throw something out that I think might so this blew my mind. So I was in around that same period of time, because I talked to everybody I could to try and get context on this. And so I called a friend of mine up, or not friend, I would say acquaintance that I got connected with, who'd sold his company for hundreds of millions of dollars, really bright guy. And one of the questions I asked him, I said, so how do you derive meaning from your life? And he said an answer that really, really shook me, which doesn't happen that much given my worldview. He said, why do you think that life needs to be meaningful? And it was just this really interesting question, which is basically that I had an unspoken demand of the universe. Life should be meaningful. I should be happy. And so it's the shoulds that we don't even know that we think and say that are the ones that change us the most, like hardcore. And so my favorite quote of all time, which is probably at the front of a few of the books that I have and will probably be the one that'll be on my tombstone, is a permutation of an Orson Scott Card quote, which is, we question all of our beliefs except for those that we truly believe and those we never think to question. And so I would say that a lot of my entrepreneurial career, even just human journey, has been, what are the beliefs that I so inherently believe that I don't even see them? I don't even think about the should. And so when he said that to me, I was like, whoa, I have had this inherent demand of the universe that my life be meaningful. And now people would hear this and be like, they have their shoulds and they're going to say, well, it should be meaningful. And I'm like, why? According to what? And if we look at history, history pretty much sweeps everyone under the bed, like within 100 years. And within 1,000 years, basically everyone, and the people that we remember some of their works. And we go 100,000 years in the future or 10,000 years in the future, probably unlikely that we will be remembered in general. And that is solving for the idea that we need to be remembered. Again, we have to. Why? And so my solving has been for degrees of freedom and responsibility. So what are the things that I can control? And I will do the very best of my ability to try and do the things within my control to ideally make other people's lives better and my own in the process. Now, that is a choice rather than I demand that of the universe. And this gets really abstract and heady really fast. And so I will try and bring us back down to earth. But by demanding that life be meaningful, by demanding that I be happy, when I understood that I was demanding these things and pursuing them, that they were outside of me, by saying I need to do this, that I created inherent space that I could never gap, or I could never close. And so by trying to forget or eliminate the demand is where it was the first time that I experienced those things. And so I try to keep them out of my head to the greatest degree possible so that I can be inside of them. That sounds weird. Rather than in pursuit. And so the times where I derive the most joy from my life, if I'm optimizing for that, which is, I wouldn't necessarily say that I am optimizing for joy. I think Williamson was like, you definitely optimize for purpose or meaning or something like that. And I kind of reject a lot of it, mostly because I do what I have been rewarded for doing in the past. And so because I have a behaviorist view of the world, which is that everything boils down to behaviors, why do I do these things? I do these things because when I have done them in the past, I have enjoyed the result. And so I continue to do things that I've enjoyed the result of. And if other people have done things that they enjoy the result of, then I encourage you to keep doing them. And I also encourage you to not project that other people need to also do those things and that they will experience the same result as you, because they might not.
Alex, thank you.
Oh,
that was
thank
such a beautiful way to end. And it's so interesting because if people attack you for that, I just wanted to give my own perspective. Is when I hear you say these things about not enjoying holidays and things about your relationship with Layla and how that happens. For me, I feel, even if I don't agree with 100%, I probably get to 95%, to be honest with you. The fact that you're telling me that you're different makes my difference, whatever it might be, feel acceptable. Do you know what I'm saying?
I 100% know what you're saying.
Because when I heard you say these things and I go, oh my God, Alex feels like he's different from the normal too. We might not be, me and Alex aren't the same, but we both feel inherently like we're not playing by the rules and therefore in some way getting life wrong based on this like public narrative of the way we should live our lives. I thought, oh, amazing. I remember watching the video where you talked about not liking going on holidays and being like absolutely obsessed. And me thinking, oh my God, I'm so fucking glad he said that. Because deep in my heart somewhere, I felt a guilt.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
A guilt. And I'm like, where did the guilt come from?
Right.
I'm doing it something that I love every single day, but I feel guilty. Well, I feel guilty because of other people's shoulds, right? So please, Alex, despite any critics that might be out there, please continue to have the courage to be yourself. Because you have no idea how it's making a group of weirdos that feel like they don't fit in, feel heard and understood for their variance.
Well, that is I make it for them.
We have a closing tradition on this podcast, as you know, where the last guest leaves a question for the next guest, not knowing who they're leaving it for.
Oh, God.
I'm laughing because it's so ironic.
Okay. This has been great.
What is the meaning of life?
Oh. Well, the short answer is obviously 42. But I actually do think it's learning. Because if we think about what learning is, it's that you're exposed to new conditions that over time change your behavior. And so you are different now than you were 10 years ago because you've learned more things. And so if we think about the meaning of life as what is the output of life. So I actually do really like this. So people talk, I can relate this to business, of course. I can relate what's the meaning of life to business. But what is the meaning of a business? The purpose of the business is whatever the output of that business is. That's the meaning. It's what the output of that business is. And so if the mission, like with Elon, is like to get to Mars, then the output of the mission is that people get to Mars. And so that's the meaning of that business. And so the meaning of life in general for me, I think for all humans, is that the output of experience is learning. And so we will learn regardless, whether we want to or not, we learn. Learning happens whether you like it or not, you will learn. And I think that that's where I would just leave it. And the question is, are you learning the things that you want?
Amen. I highly recommend people go and check out the new format you launched on your YouTube channel. It's titled Building a $1 Million Business for a Stranger in 56 Minutes. It's kind of like a new take on Shark Tank, but it's more actionable, more practical. It's what you referenced earlier, and I know it took you many, 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 many hours to perfect it, but it's a really interesting format that I think YouTube is seeking because it's so actionable and practical. And I'd highly recommend, I'll link that below, but I would also highly recommend people go and check out these books. I mean, to say they've been smash hits is a massive understatement.
Thank you.
I just see it everywhere. I feel like it's a prerequisite of any entrepreneur's toolkit when they're starting and they're trying to figure out frameworks for scaling a business, making sales, generating leads. And I know there's another one on the way, which you won't tell me about, but I know it's coming this year, which is volume 3 of this format. And I'm exceptionally excited to see it. And for any entrepreneurs out there that are looking to get in business with you, I'd highly recommend they go check out acquisition.com because there's so much there, regardless of where you are in the cycle, whether you're starting out, whether you're scaling up, whether you're looking for advice, acquisition.com is the place to be. Thank you, Alex, for your generosity. I appreciate it. And thank you for all that you do. Thank you for being weird and different because that's the value. That's all the value in the world. We don't need more of the same. We need people that have the courage to be themselves and the courage to be happy. And that's exactly who you are. And I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Isn't this cool? Every single conversation I have here on the Diary of a CEO, at the very end of it, you'll know, I ask the guest to leave a question in the Diary of a CEO. And what we've done is we've turned every single question written in the Diary of a CEO into these conversation cards that you can play at home. So you've got every guest we've ever had, their question, and on the back of it, if you scan that QR code, you get to watch the person who answered that question. We're finally revealing all of the questions and the people that answered the question. The brand new version 2 updated conversation cards are out right now at theconversationcards.com. They've sold out twice instantaneously. So if you are interested in getting hold of some limited edition conversation cards, I really, really recommend acting quickly.
What's Skool? How does it work? Well, let me explain. So Skool is an online platform for building a group online about whatever you want. It's easy, and sure, everyone says that, but how easy? Well, right now, 1 out of 2 people who start a community online make money. Yes, 54.1%. And the reason that we have such a high success rate is because we spent hundreds of hours studying thousands of successful groups to figure out exactly what they did to make money. And then we broke it down into a step-by-step recipe for making money. Doesn't that smell good? And so we boiled it into do this X times per day and do this Y times per week. And it works. It works so well that right now the average paid community makes $1,360 per month in recurring revenue, which is pretty sweet. So no, it won't make you into a billionaire, but it will help you get started. And you can keep scaling all the way up like the 10 people that I was just showing you earlier. And on top of that, we built everything that you need to run a paid group on Skool already. So no, you won't need to start a Stripe account. No, you won't need to build a website. No, you won't need to have any inventory. And you won't have to hire anyone new. No thanks, guys. We're good.
Skool works out of the box. Ta-da! It's that easy. We built it that works the same way as social media, so you don't need to learn anything new. All right. There's not even a single piece of technology that you figure out. You just log in and you can collect money in minutes, literally. And if you're just starting out, here's you. You're literally who we built Skool for. So remember those crazy people that I showed you over there? Say hello. They did this last month, and if they can do it, so can you. This is built for people who are brand new to business or brand new to online business. And if you're wondering, well, do I need to have an audience? No, half of those guys didn't have an organic audience. And these guys are the winners. So no, we'll show you where and how people are getting their first customers absolutely free. Follow me. Listen, if you don't believe me, think about it like this. If we get 1 out of 2 paid communities to make money, most people don't have organic audiences. So we had to figure it out or no one would stay on Skool, but we have. And that's why we have tens of thousands of groups on Skool right now. And as much as I'd like to think people love me, people stay because they make money. And we'll show you exactly how they did it. And also, just to make sure you don't get stuck on any step, I answer questions every single week. I hop on calls. And so if you want to hop on there live, we usually have 200 or 300 people who hop on those calls. So it's not huge. And so now's the best time to get started. So if that sounds at all interesting, the best part is you can start a community of your own absolutely free. Just click the yellow button below this video, enter your details to start your absolutely free trial. Worst case, start for free, you decide to quit, and then you can take all the training that other people charge thousands of dollars for with you for free. Again, that's the worst case. Best case, you take a zero risk move and build an online business that could change your life forever. And to be clear, I'm not asking you to decide yes or no today. I'm asking you to make an informed decision. That's it. And the only way you can do that is on the inside, not on the outside. So get inside and see if everything that we say is true and valuable to you. Then if it is, in 2 weeks is when you can actually decide for real. And if you get in and decide it's not for you, no sweat. But you can't truly make an informed decision right now for the same reason you don't buy a house without looking inside of it first, or test drive a car before buying it. So this is a guaranteed risk-free test drive. And listen, whether it's 13 minutes or 13 days from now, if you decide that it's not for you for any reason whatsoever, all you have to do is go to your profile and click cancel. That's it, 1 click. And the only reason you can make an offer that strong is because you're confident that what you have is the real deal. And I'm fairly confident that when you sign up by hitting the button below, you're getting exactly what you need to start your online business. So you might as well give it a shot. The only other guarantee is that if you don't take this shot, you'll stay right where you are right now. If you take action, you could be the next one coming out to Vegas celebrating how quickly you built an online business with consistent monthly recurring revenue and driving away in a Cybertruck or with 100 grand in cash in your pocket. Pretty neat. So click the button below, join us in the Skool games. I take calls every Monday, hop on and be sure to let me know you're new. I'll see you on the other side.